What is Codex? Codex is created by OpenAI. It's ChatGPT's agent. They really should have named it ChatGPT Code for branding purposes, but it is the agent for OpenAI. What is the difference between Codex and ChatGPT? I can go to ChatGPT and I could say, hey, can you write the copy for my landing page? Maybe can you design a mock-up? It will design some images. But what I can't do is I can't tell it to publish 12 new blog posts on my website without me touching anything, without me having to go to any dashboard to click around. That is possible with Codex. Codex can do it for you. Codex would be able to get the transcript from my YouTube once this live processes based on certain things that I've given it in the past, see which blog posts have performed the best, take my exact words in the transcript, plan the best 12 articles for the blog, write the based on the words of my transcript. So it's not making stuff up. It's my proprietary information, so to speak, in my style. I could then approve the drafts if I want to. And then what it could do is it could deploy the publishing, add them to the sitemap, do all of the things for me, again, without me having to log into any dashboard or click around for 20 minutes. That is the beauty of Codex. It's the best agent, in my opinion, for non-technical business owners, and I'll share why when we go through the first few prompts specifically. There are currently 1 billion users of ChatGPT monthly, so 1 billion people use ChatGPT every single month, but only 5 million users use Codex weekly. You are part of the 0.05% if you use Codex, which is just insane. You're so early, it's not even funny. The fastest growing user cohorts are actually non-coders, so it's non-technical knowledge workers, someone like you, someone like your competitors. Also yesterday, OpenAI filed, it was released that they were officially going to go for an IPO this year. There are rumors that they will announce a merged super app before they IPO, meaning that there's a high chance, a high probability that the Codex app will merge with the ChatGPT app and they will become one. Why does this matter to you? This matters to you because when that happens, more people will use Codex, maybe some of them being in your market, and they will start to see just how amazing it is for an agent to actually do things for you versus just think things through to you or give you the instructions of what to do with those things like a ChatGPT does. Whoever leverages this first will save time, energy, and obviously money. But more than that, you're going to close a learning curve and rebuild your business to be supported agentically faster than your competitors, because for something like Codex to actually be able to do things for you, it has to have the right permissions when you set it up, and it has to be connected to the right things to have the context of your business. If I were to tell you or give you a prompt today, which I am, where Codex can see who needs to be invoiced or who's been late on payments, review that and see what immediate cash could be collected for your business, it's not going to be able to identify those things if it doesn't have access. If it can't read through your emails, look through some of your conversations that you've had through meetings, connect to wherever you do your financials, so on and so forth. If it doesn't have that context, it can't help you. And some of those environments are easier for it to connect to than others. And the most difficult ones you may want to replace so that your agents can operate without any issues. Before we get to that, I want to just cover what I would call like the I7 method. Helping these businesses over the last 6 months, there have been key indicators of what will lead to success faster. One of the first indicators of success when implementing AI in a business is if the CEO or the business owner goes first. It's actually the only way that I'll do it, go straight to the CEO, which at times it is difficult because the CEO could be time pressed, the business owner could be time pressed, but this is something that is non-optional if you want to see the potential of what's possible if every single one of the people on your team were using Codex or some type of tool like Codex, maybe Claude Code. The first I in I7 is immersion. You need to block time for this. I know what it's like being a business owner. If you need to stay up extra hours for a season, do it, because the cost of not immersing yourself in this stuff and seeing what's possible and rethinking even the value of your services and offerings in the very near future, once you start to experience some of this stuff, it can't really be taught unless you immerse yourself. It could be explained, but until it clicks because you're in it, you're swimming in it, it's not the same. I've sat with business owners and I could tell you the moment that it clicks for them. And they start to realize, whoa, could we do this? Could we do that? They also start to think about the future market for their own prospects and how they may be at risk and what to do to anticipate that market change, so on and so forth. So I would say block 3 to 4 hours a week and be curious and use it. So don't just watch videos. I'm going to show you how to download Codex today, how to set it up, how to start using it. Dive in, see what's possible, and put the time aside no matter what, no matter how busy you are. You cannot delegate this, especially because no one understands your business the way that you do. The second I in I7 is infrastructure. As you start to immerse yourself in this, you will start to realize that there are tools or operational processes that are much more difficult for the agent to work around or work with or work through or help you with because of those limitations. You may start to think, why am I going to continue paying for this tool if it's going to be hard for my agents to operate with? Or why are we going to continue to do this in this way if it's going to be hard for the agents to help us with? I'll give you one example. When I started in this process a few months ago, one of the tools that was extremely hard for my agents to work with that I had been with for several years was Kajabi. Kajabi, up until that point, the agent could only work around browser use. So it'd have to click around. It was very difficult for the agents to create landing pages, email campaigns, customize the payment links to send. They recently came out with what is called an MCP. So it makes it a little bit easier, but the payments are still not part of that process and it's very limited. I thought to myself, if this is going to make it hard for my agent to build a website, to publish a blog post, to help write an email, to send that email, to draft that email, to track the analytics, to help with the SEO, just everything, then I don't want it. Within a short amount of time, I went to an agent-friendly setup through GitHub and Cloudflare, rebuilt the entire website custom, and have been able to publish blog posts based on my videos very consistently. Go check it out at growthacademy.global. We've also had more web traffic than ever, more AI search traffic than ever. And I'm not an SEO person, I'm not a coder, but what I was able to do was just explain to Codex through a prompt or through my voice what I wanted, and it was able to build the infrastructure and able to build it because I went and I aligned with more agent-friendly tools versus having a fight with something like a Kajabi. Another example of more of an operational process that would need to be updated is last week I was sitting with a business owner. We were setting up an agent that took her prospect calls and was able to turn it into proposals based on the templates that she uses in her business, based on her service offerings, based on where they want to grow in their business. And part of setting up that agent was testing it. After the first 3 tests, I noticed a recurring pattern that the agent could not complete the proposal because the context of the prospect call was incomplete. What was happening is she has a prospect call, the incomplete meeting notes of that prospect call are there, but then there's text messages, there's emails, there's other calls like on the cell phone that aren't necessarily tracked that has the rest of the context that an agent would need to complete the proposal. If they are going to leverage that agent in the future, they have to change their operational process for whatever calls related to sales to be in something like a Google Meet for the transcript to be available. This not only applies to the main seller, but also the salesperson they just brought on. If not, then they can't expect that agent to be able to help them. You'll see that a lot of the limitations of what an agent is able to do is the fact that your business is built by humans for humans right now, and that it's not really built to be supported operationally by agents. To take it a step further, it's not really built to market to your future prospects agents. You don't have offers yet available for agents of your future prospects. or just agents that want to buy from you in the future, which there will be trillions of them versus billions of humans. Investment. You may have to buy new hardware. You may have to invest in some type of learning. The other day I was sitting with a CEO. We're setting up Codex. The first few prompts of Codex starts to go and the laptop completely starts to spaz out. We do an audit and he has 8 GB of RAM. That's not enough if you're going to be running agents, even if not all of your files are going to be local on that computer. He had to order a new computer and the process was obviously stalled about 10 days. Now with the new computer, he won't be constricted because if not, it was just going to be a nightmare. That's going to be one of the prompts that you'll get today as well, is to audit your hardware. The fourth step is integration. You have to decide what tools are you willing to get rid of. Like I was willing to get rid of Kajabi, and what will replace that tool, what will become part of your core stack. For example, if HubSpot is part of your core stack, then it's not going anywhere. We have to figure out what is the best way for an agent to get access to your HubSpot in the way that you need it to. Now, when we go to Codex in a couple of minutes, I will show you that there are things called plugins. But a lot of the times for more advanced things, plugins are not necessarily enough of a connection point for more advanced capabilities. And so you may find that you ask it to do something specialized and it says, no, I can't do that. In that case, you'll need something called a token, an API token, and you need to come up also with a process or a way for Codex or whatever agent you have on your computer to safely store these tokens. Maybe that's storing them in Bitwarden in your keychain or something called password. But at first, it may seem like it's not complicated, but when you have 3 agents, 5 agents, 7 agents, and the 7th agent has to go pull a QuickBooks token that refreshes every hour, you best believe it could get complicated. Decide what are your core systems, and the agent needs the right level of access to those systems, and you have to decide what those levels are. Obviously, connecting via plugins is easier. You just sign in and it's through the app, but it's limited. 5 is implementation. You could have the best skills, the best instructions, the best prompts, or whatever in the world. You really don't know until you test it. So for example, if I gave you something right now and its purpose was to review all of your proposals and basically turn a prospect call into a proposal, you don't know how good those instructions or how effective they are, if they work, until you actually sit there and see the output. The first thing is really understanding what workflows, especially closest to revenue, you want to start testing in. And as the business owner, you probably know what those workflows are. And then, of course, I6 is iteration. So really spending time with the agent to iterate and refine, and then improvement. This is where a lot of the CEOs will underestimate how critical this is. For example, if the first time that it does it, it's messing up your logo, or if the first time it does it in an incorrect format compared to whatever standard template you have, that is something that needs to be refined. The standard template instructions need to be hardened. It needs to be told, you need to follow this template. And you can't just say, okay, are you going to follow the template from now on? It will always say yes. It will always say yes, the instructions are locked in, don't worry about it. But you don't really know that that's a fact until you test it another 3 to 5 times. It's not really about time, it's about reps. If I have 2 companies that have or are trying to turn an agent that turns quotes into estimates that are sent to the prospect, one of them could do 100 tests in the first week, iterate, spend 3 to 4 hours with it, refining it, and then that thing can really just be working in the background 24/7, and that person could have a high level of trust that 99.9% of the time, the quote's going to come in, it's going to price the quote correctly, it's going to send it looking pretty based on our template, and it's going to use our verbiage when it sends it to the prospect. The other person could sit there for months. And if they don't really test it, it's just not going to work. I6 is iteration, so really spending time with the agent to iterate and refine, and then improvement. Maybe now you want to take it a step further and have the agent send the invoice, Or maybe you want more than one person on your team using this, and this turns into a general thing, and then it gets customized to whatever style that salesperson has. There are different levels to this, but these are the 7. Starting with the first is you're here today because we're going to learn some immersive things today. The first thing to do is to download Codex, and I'm going to show you how to do this. If you go to ChatGPT, over here at the top left, you'll see Codex. You see the sidebar top left, you'll just go to the ChatGPT logo, open the sidebar, and then hit Codex. When you hit Codex, it'll look like this. And then since I already have it, it says open. But if you don't have it, it'll say download for Windows, download for Mac, and you want to choose whichever one based on the computer that you have. Once you download it, when you log in, it'll look like you're logging into ChatGPT, and this is important. When you log into Codex, you need to log in with the right ChatGPT account. I've seen it where people, they kind of mess up their ChatGPT accounts and then they log in with a free account and then they're like, Codex stopped working after 3 prompts. Yeah, you need at least the $20 plan. And realistically, if you wanted to do agentic work for you, you're going to need at least the $100 plan. When you log into Codex, it'll look like this, but with your name on it. The one thing you may see that I don't see here is you'll see a black button and it'll say set up sandbox. If you see that, it's just because it's your first time logging into Codex, and all you have to do is click that black button that will show up above this chat, and it'll set up the sandbox on its own. If it's blocked by some ID flag or whatever, it should set up a backup sandbox. But that's something to note because you're probably on a Windows computer and you probably have some type of very strict IT environment that you will probably want to upgrade or change if you're going to be running agents in the future. The other thing is, if you could see my screen, you'll see that I put a link, it's pinned, and it's the webinar offers. So these are the offers that are going to be available throughout this. One of them is the skills dashboard, okay? It says preview the dashboard first. And if you have never purchased it, you won't see all of these unlocked skills. So it'll only show you like a few for each one. You want to click onboarding. And for the onboarding one, you want to click copy full skill. So this is just going to tell your Codex how to set up your settings. It's going to make it easier, and I'm going to go through exactly what it's going to cover. Down here, you'll see settings, and this is very important to understand. Number 1, usage remaining. Codex bills off of a 5-hour and a weekly usage. So does Anthropic. So the reason they do that is because they have to control compute. So if you're going crazy for 5 hours on a Monday during peak hours, you're going to get less compute than if you're going crazy, let's say, on a Friday night or maybe even a Wednesday night, because there's less users at that time. And then every single week, your usage will reset, all right? And depending on the week, for example, I have 31% usage left and I have 60% of my 5-hour left, and I'm on the $200 per month plan. I've been building a lot this week. Then here, you'll see settings. You'll see that there's general, profile, appearance, configuration. The first thing that I want you to do is look at your configuration. You want to look at the approval policy, and I have mine on request. Here, you should want it on either full access or workspace right. You do not want it on read only. The reason is because if it's on read only, it's not going to be able to change what it needs to change. It's not going to be able to act agentically for your business, and it will act like it has handcuffs on. If I wanted to change it to full access, I could just change it to full access, which I usually have on. If it does not allow you to change it to full access, what you will have to do is you will have to close the app, you will have to reopen it, and then you'll have to put in the prompt that I'm about to put in. Down here, you'll see that there's different things, personalization. I would enable memories, and I would enable chronicle research preview. I like the personality to be on pragmatic, not friendly, because friendly is kind of annoying. I like pragmatic. Here, for computer use and browser, want it on. In the event that you use a very difficult app that does not allow your agent to connect or whatever, it has to click around, you want it to be able to do that. When you turn on browser and you turn on computer use, it's going to be able to click around for you in case it needs to. If you're in an app you're unfamiliar with, or you're just not a coder or whatever, you're like, I have no idea where to click. You could say, click for me, use computer use, use browser use, and help me get there. It could then maybe just bring you to the screen where you sign in. Here, you want to make sure that it's always updated. They update this every single day. I'm going to install this, which is, it allows it to click any app on the computer. This is new, by the way. They just added this. And then let Codex use your Mac when it's locked. Yes. And then I just have to put in my password. This is important because Codex, if you go into the ChatGPT app, let's say you're like not by your computer. If you go into the ChatGPT app, you'll see that on your phone, you'll see Codex is like pinned. When you click Codex, the only way it's going to be able to connect to your computer if it's off or if it's locked or the screensaver came on is if this is turned on. If not, you're going to want to prompt something in a thread that you're on in Codex, and you're not going to be able to, and then you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I need to fix this. Now, once you go back here, you'll see that this is on always ask for approval. It may have a folder, it may not. And then you'll see that it goes to medium first. What you'll do is you'll put the prompt that I put in the chat in here, and you know it's that prompt because you see here, help a non-technical business owner confirm that Codex has enough permissions. And then all I have to do is go down here and do full access. If it's still not letting you do full access, work through it until this prompt is done. What this prompt will do is make sure that it gets you to full access without you really having to be involved as much as possible. This is actually one of the big differences between setting up something like Codex and Claude Code is Codex will help you a lot with the setup from the app. Claude Code is a little bit less beginner friendly in that respect. If you're on a Mac, it should be pretty easy. If you're on a Windows, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult. And if you're being constricted by an IT company that you pay or whatever, it could be extremely difficult. But all I'll do is I'll paste this and I'll click enter. And for me, the settings are already there, but it should work through some settings. And then at the end, it should tell you, okay, well, quit the app and then reopen. What you'll do is verify in the settings that they have been updated. This is very important because if you do not do this, it will not act agentically. You'll ask it to do a million things. It'll ask you for permission every single step of the way. Explain sandbox for everyone. Like in the playground, you're kind of trapped in the sandbox. What sandbox is, it's a safe space for Codex to operate, or for any agent to really operate. But the thing is, some people constrict their agents so much that their agents cannot do anything, that their agents need permission to even step outside of the sandbox and do one thing. In that case, you're really not giving it the freedom it needs to act as an agent for you. So there's balances. You want to make sure that there are security measures. You have the password on your computer. You have two-factor authentication on everything in case it goes a bit rogue. You don't only have your files locally on your computer. You have them also in a Google Drive or an iCloud or Dropbox or whatever. All the credentials are stored in a safe space like 1Password or Bitwarden or macOS Keychain. But if you constrict it so much that you only allow it to read, or you don't give it the permissions it needs to change files, to leave the sandbox, to find stuff, then it can't really do anything for you. At that point, just stay in ChatGPT. It should tell you quit the app, log back in, and when you go to see the settings, you should see at least that you're on workspace right. If there's certain restrictions because you're on a Windows for full access or whatever, I would still have Codex just be like, hey, do it for me. Troubleshoot these restrictions in the PowerShell. I give you permission. And it'll work its way around it. When we were talking about, oh, Codex will only be able to do things for you if it has the right environments, this is where you could start. Up here at the top where you see plugins, you're going to click plugins, and then you're going to see all of these things. Computer use, the Chrome, presentations, spreadsheets, whatever. You need to start connecting your core tools like Gmail. For example, if you gave Codex a prompt that said, hey, look at all the proposals I've sent over the last 24 months, see which ones closed, see which ones didn't, and draft a reply to the ones that didn't to revive them or to inform them about our current offers and services or whatever, it won't be able to do that if it doesn't have access to your email communications. Give it access and you can connect it to both Gmail and Outlook. You would just click Gmail, it's going to add it, and you should be prompted to log in if it doesn't already have your stuff. You see here connected. You don't know that it's actually connected though until you give it prompts to try. So remember, don't just believe that it's connected. After you connect all of your plugins, one of the things that I want you to do today is to test it. Say, hey, what's the last invoice payment we got? Or who was the last person I emailed? What did I email them about? What were the last 5 emails I received from so-and-so? And make sure that's able to tell you that. Once it's able to verify the connection, then that's when you can start giving it more stuff. But just because it says it's connected, sometimes it's not. So you want to be a little bit careful. Some of the core ones that I have are GitHub. You're going to want this. Just trust me on this. Just create a free account and connect GitHub. You want this one, product design. So OpenAI has core skills or workflows that they've put together now. And one of them is product design, where it could even create a prototype for a product based on the context that it has for your business today. And I'll show you how to do that. You want data analytics. You want as many of the core ones as possible, the ones that are developed by OpenAI. This creative production has 9 skills. So as you can see, it's able to do ads, it's able to do logos, mood boards, positioning, whatever. I don't know how well it's able to do it. I'm sure it's good because it was designed by the company. Slack is a good one to have, very agent friendly. HubSpot's right here if you have HubSpot. Communication, you want to connect your meeting notes. There's Zoom, Otter, Circle, Fireflies, Read AI. Not all of them are the same when it comes to agent friendliness. All right. So the way that you would know is, for example, when you click Fireflies, the Fireflies app brings your meeting and knowledge directly into Codex, analyze any conversation, track feature requests, update CRMs with Fireflies and Codex, centralize your company, and turn every conversation into actionable insights. One of the things that you want to also audit is what are the limits of the Fireflies in Codex. They used to list them. I don't see them, but you need to be a little bit careful. For example, the agents like to, if the provider is giving the summary first, it likes to refer to the summary versus the entire transcript first. So in your instructions, whenever you're using some of this stuff, sometimes you have to be a little bit specific and say, only use the entire transcript, don't rely on the summary, so on and so forth. And you have to make sure that these connectors are not just giving the summary. The other thing is, if you wanted to switch some of them, you may need to use their APIs. For example, Fireflies is API to extract like 2 years of conversations in less than like 20 minutes and have Codex organize them for me. I don't think it would have been able to do that so reliably just through the plugin. All right. You want to just be aware of some of this stuff. Go through them. This could take a good 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but you want to connect them all at once. Because when you start to prompt it to do these things, if it doesn't have access to your communications, to your reading notes, to wherever you have your financials, so on and so forth, it's not going to be able to give you the right answers or at least mostly accurate answers and be able to execute. Another one that you really want, which we'll get into tomorrow, is Cloudflare. Just get it. It's free, but you're going to need it. They're also in partnership with OpenAI for an enterprise feature that's currently available called Sites. Cloudflare, if you want to build a website with agents, is going to be a key piece of that puzzle. One of my clients in the first 4 weeks saved about $3,600 in subscriptions. And I'd say about 80% of that has been through Cloudflare. And Cloudflare for her costs less than $20 a month. It's very agent friendly and there's a lot that you could do with it. You want to build iOS apps, build web apps, it's good, build Mac OS apps. This is very important. And this is a good example of what I'm talking about. You have to be aware of what you connect and how you connect it. Get transcripts when you only have Codex connected to Firefly's plugin. When it sends the transcript, it's going to return the metadata and the summary. It's not going to give the full transcript detail. If I were to ask, hey, use the Fireflies plugin or whatever to pull exactly what so-and-so said in this conversation, or exactly what we did in these 6 meetings and what their reactions were to the progress, it's going to have a little bit of a problem. It says full transcript content requires a specific transcript meeting ID. So it's going to have to find the meeting ID, then it's going to go through extra steps, which for me is room for error. And it already has my API key. So I'd rather just give it the full token and go through an extra step than have to face this room for error constantly every time I needed to pull a transcript. And all I would have to do in this example is say, how would I get the API key for you? And then say use slash, and then I could do computer use and slash browser use to help me get it. I am non-technical. I have no idea what I'm doing. I need your help. And it will do it. It will start clicking around your laptop. The only thing that you may have to do is put in your password, and it will be able to do everything else. One of the reasons why I also like Codex better than Claude for non-technical business owners that are starting to use agents is exactly what you're saying here. It lays out step by step what it's doing. And in the beginning, that's very important because number one, you'll start to learn. And number two, once you get a hang of it, you'll start to see certain patterns, or you'll be able to anticipate an error faster and not have it do something for 20 minutes that you could have circumvented just by paying attention. You'll be able to catch things. One of the things that I caught recently was I told it to create a free course mockup that matched our website. It showed the screenshot in the first two minutes of the course mockup that it was creating, and it was outdated branding. Instead of letting it finish the course mockup that it was going to complete for the next 15 minutes, I stopped it. I said, you're using outdated branding. Use the current branding for growthacademy.global. And then it corrected itself. Understand that when you set up your codex, you're going to have to at least dedicate an hour to this. So you do the initial correct settings, and then you have to dedicate at least an hour to all of the plugins. And I would really, for almost every plugin, be like, hey, what are the limitations of this one? And then really decide, am I going to take it a step further and just give it the API key? Because I'd rather just do that now versus having to do it anyway in the future. Yes, it will take more time. Yes, you'll want to pull your hair out or some of your hair out, but it will give it all the capability that it needs so that when you start with some of the prompts that I'm about to show you, it won't be constricted. Its evidence will be more accurate, and it will be able to do more things on your behalf, like a real employee. Where would you store this conversation as the calls from the last 2 years that you downloaded from Fireflies? It really depends on the business. One of the things that I have found is that as you're starting to use agents, or just like even Codex, Claude Code, and multiple agents within those environments, you need a place locally where your most recent things are happening for the agents to have context, and where like the rules for their operations really are on the front end. Then the second place is GitHub. So GitHub is an organization system for the agents. And this is very important because every single time that something is set up within a GitHub, your agent has a commit number related to that action. I'll give you an example of why this is important. I was sitting with a client the other day. We are building her website agentically through Codex. Her agent changed something, and I told her agent to revert it back to the previous version. Now, if you have GitHub, you have a evidence history of different commit numbers. So let's just say number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it just changed it to number 5 and I tell it, no, turn it back to number 4, it should know the exact code related to number 4. Her agent reverted it, but it didn't revert it correctly. And I was like, something's not right here. We dig deeper, and her agent's not even doing it through GitHub. Her agent was just doing the changes locally and was just taking a best guess of what the previous version was. There was no evidence of the progress of the project. There was no evidence of what agent within Codex was touching what, and what specific code was associated with each progression. There was also no way to say, hey, go back to the previous thing. I don't like this change. GitHub is critical for that type of history and for projects like that. And then you could have, I'd probably put in like a Google Drive. There's like a human layer and a more agentic layer. And Google Workspace, by the way, is very agent friendly. Your agents can connect to almost everything very easily, be able to pull all of that stuff, be able to change it, be able to organize it, so on and so forth. The real answer to this question is, where would you store them? It depends on the business. So when I'm sitting down in a one-on-one implementation and a business owner is like, we only use Dropbox, I'm not going to tell them to store it in Google Workspace. I'm going to make sure that Codex has what it needs to be able to do so in Dropbox, which is probably the API key. And then I'm going to test that it does it correctly. And I'm going to confirm with the business owner where it also approves for Codex to organize some of this stuff. But I'm going to work with the operations of their business versus trying to reinvent the wheel every single time. Now, there are tools where you have to, because they're just so non-agent friendly that it's a nightmare to begin with. And it almost will cost you more trying to force the agent to work with the tool than not. If that makes sense. The first prompt is to find money already owed. Codex is going to scan your emails. And if, let's say you're connected to HubSpot, whatever, Stripe is great for agentic payments. Most of you, though, it will probably be if you receive it through QuickBooks, at least initially, because you will definitely have to customize the connection. But if it's something that there is no plugin for, you could just ask Codex to use computer use and browser use to connect via the API and to help you walk through it. And once it is provided with that, it will have access to that environment. But for most of you, you're probably getting an email confirmation when somebody pays you, so the emails will probably be enough. What this first one will do is, if somebody is paying you late of recent, or if there's a late invoice and it's able to recognize that because of the history of payments, it's going to identify that. And then it's going to suggest sending an email to either anticipate that lateness and try to correct it, or to collect a late payment. And so that's the first one. I already put rules like don't send without the person's approval, don't update the records. At first, it's going to just show you what you should send, and then you could say send it, or you could send it, refine it, whatever. I would get into the habit of, even if it doesn't sound 100% like you, get into the habit of letting go a little bit. I'll give you an example. I was sitting with a client, we're implementing AI into her business. We set up an agent for her email triage. The first test is 25 emails. The first run, the triage agent has to identify, should this email be responded to, deleted? Should it have a draft reply before being shown to the CEO, or should only the CEO handle this? It literally got 25 out of 25 right. The second round of testing was do another 25, but actually write the drafts. And write the drafts in the personality of the CEO based off of what you see in her email history. I got 21 out of 25 right. She was impressed. Then what I had her do is refine the ones where maybe it wasn't so warm, it missed a sentence here or whatever. Within less than an hour, we got to the point where if she really were willing to let go, she wouldn't have to respond to emails. Or she would have to respond to 3 instead of 100. In a way, she was very happy because this was one of the agents that she actually requested. She's spending way too much time every week on emails. But in another way, it was still very hard for her to let go. That's the human side of things. Your greatest skills are not probably in responding to a lot of these emails. In the beginning, yes, you should approve the critical ones, but let go a little bit. It's a good habit to have, because you'll find very soon that what you thought was your value is going to be completely redefined. There will be identity crises. The second one, turn current clients into renewal or upsell revenue. What this one will do, the main thing that it's going to do is it's going to look through your emails and your meeting transcripts. You're going to need your meeting transcripts. If you're someone that does not record client calls, then one of two things needs to start happening. One, you need to do it, or two, you need to be like a doctor and literally right after the call, record your own solo report. And that solo report needs to be sufficient enough, just like a doctor, like talking to themselves, like, hey, I just met with patient XYZ, this is what I saw, da, 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 da. That solo report needs to be good enough to give your agents all the context that it would need for future tasks like this, whether it be to send them a proposal from a prospect call, whether it be to update them on the progress of your engagement based on the meeting you just had for current clients, so on and so forth. What it will do is it will scour your client calls, and then it will identify any renewal or upsell or cross-sell opportunities, because you probably are missing a lot of them, or you probably know that they exist but don't really know how to frame them or how to bring up the conversation or the topic. And Codex has no fear. It will draft the email for you. It will create a proposal for the upsell or whatever renewal for you. And it will do just based on the context. And if you have other context outside of these conversations to give it, don't be afraid. Number 3, reactivate previous buyers and warm leads, access to whatever those signals are. So if it doesn't have access to whatever CRM you have, or even if you just track a CRM in a Google sheet, I don't really care, but it needs to know who's paid you in the past. Even if it's just through emails, what would a warm lead constitute? What do you sell? It should know that through your emails and through payment confirmations and client conversations and stuff like that. It'll suggest the best people to reactivate based on previous buyers within the last 12 months. This one is cool. Find the fastest offer to sell today. And you could actually do this with the product design skill that Codex. Again, it can't do this if it doesn't have the local files to give it context, your Google Drive, wherever you keep all your stuff for your business, your Dropbox. If you don't give it access to that, it's not going to really have a whole understanding of your business. This one is going to review the calendar for today and tomorrow, and it's going to bring up potential opportunities for you to create revenue. This is find stuck proposals and close them. It's going to look for maybe you went some back and forth within the last 12 months, or maybe you're in a negotiation with somebody and you're kind of stuck. It could suggest how to put the negotiation in your favor, how to just close the deal, or how to add something to the deal that's favorable to them based on your calls. Surface high intent new leads. Again, this depends. You have to give it context. And if it doesn't have all of the data and all of the context, then it won't necessarily know where you get your best leads. This is where it goes back to operations on the human side. Every single prospect conversation that you have from this point forward, you should ask, how did you hear about me? Where did you find me? Oh, so-and-so told me about you. How did that conversation come up? Have you been looking for this solution for a while? And the reason is because if you don't ask that, Codex won't have it in your prospect call, right? And it won't really be able to determine how the greatest clients that you close, how they're coming to you. You want to ask questions because what people say is very different than what they do. So there are people that are be like, oh, I found you on YouTube. I'm like, really? How did that happen? Oh, I was searching how to launch my LinkedIn newsletter. I put that in Google and then I saw your YouTube video. You found me on Google, right? Not on YouTube. But if I don't ask those questions, then I don't know. Also, every single top prospect, it's either, oh, I was searching how to go live on LinkedIn, or I was searching how to launch my LinkedIn newsletter and I saw your YouTube video on Google. What does that tell me? I should double down more videos on the feed and on Google and on YouTube if I want more LinkedIn clients about LinkedIn live video and LinkedIn newsletters, right? So but this is important for me to hash out because then Codex has that context. Convert content and social activity into cash. I don't want to open Pandora's box, but we'll open it a little bit. The more that you get into this, the more that live, everything that you do on social media will tie into this machine. Because at the top of this machine is your ability to scale in terms of content, and your ability to show up in AI search, and your ability to have Codex help you with blog posts, with LinkedIn newsletters, with videos, whatever you need. But the point is that you don't want it to help you scale things that aren't high leverage. And you don't want to post things on social media like cat videos or whatever that is not really related to your offer or does not pre-qualify high intent leads. Because then Codex will go to your cat video and think that's a lead when it's not. So for a season, if you're going to be strategic on the back end of your operations with Codex, it will actually help back end operations with lead generation for your top funnel to be very strategic, to be aligned with the expertise that you want to be known for, with the offers that you sell, and within category with maybe 3 subcategories that you want to own. For example, I wouldn't just own LinkedIn marketing. I would own LinkedIn live video. I would own LinkedIn newsletter for business owners. And then when I publish about those things and people engage and people go to the lives that the title filters for, live video strategy for CEOs, what is that telling Codex? That's telling them that they're interested in LinkedIn live video, that they see themselves as a business owner, that there's some level of interest there. That specificity helps Codex do what it does if it's going to do some lead gen on social media. If I just posted about inspirational stuff all day, it wouldn't really be able to decipher those things. Keep that in mind now. 9, find referral partnership revenue. This could probably be done through conversations and through any emails that you receive. I actually tested this one. It did a really good job. And then this could also be number 1, optimize pricing and packaging for instant margin lift. It could look at the last proposals and contracts that you sent, the scope of work. It could track client conversations and see what you're delivering versus what you say you're delivering based on the contract, and if you're underpaying in the pricing that it newly suggests. But before these can even be implemented, before your Codex can run with these and start to make money for you today and start to identify money-making opportunities for you today, it can't do it without having access to the right environments. 100 plus Codex skills dashboard. You'll see the preview here. This has a lot of skills, like the ones that I was just talking about, but from making your website to sales, LinkedIn, leads, setting up your agent home base, which is very important because as you add more and more agents, you don't want to have to repeat yourself. This will help you cut through a lot of time, and it's available for $297 during the next 3 days, which is actually insane. If you want to join the community, we do 2 live videos every single month. The last training that we had was last week, and it was how to start building your website agentically. The recording's already there. Basically, how to use your Codex agent to build a website with GitHub and Cloudflare, and to do it step by step. We're having our next one next week. So they're Wednesdays at 4:15, but if you could only watch the replays, they're there. Also, the first training that we did on how to build your agent home base and how to rethink about the structure operationally of your business, that recording is in there as well. It's $997 during this time. And then I only have space for one more implementation. We sit together, Zoom, and we work through all the things that will make you want to pull your hair out specific to your business to start implementing this stuff in your business. If you're interested in that, all you have to do is apply, or you can message me on LinkedIn or email me. God bless you. Ciao.